Hey, everybody. It is John, Will, and Becky. Excited to talk with you again this week. We were discussing some different ideas on things that we could chat about this week. And one thing that I'm constantly hearing from people that I'm talking to that are reaching out to us, whether it's for ongoing management, general questions, or Google compliance issues, is there's a lot of confusion around what the difference is between local service ads, Google Guaranteed, and a regular Google Ads account, and how they're all intertwined and connected. So a lot of times people will be very, very confused about why one is necessary to have the other, how they're related, if you need one, if you have the other, and a lot of other things like that. So I thought it'd be good to do another Q&A this week that really focuses on those local service ads, how they relate to your Google My Business page, your Google Ads account, and so on. So John, how about we start with you and you just give me the breakdown. What is Google Ads versus local service ads?
Yeah, well, let's start by defining what local service ads is first, because what we call Google Ads is basically everything else. So local service ads is a program that Google offers that is unique from pretty much every other ad type it runs, in which you pay per lead that you're acquiring. So that's one big difference. And you have to jump through a bunch of hoops to get it. So it's more difficult to get a local service ads account than it is to run other types of advertising. And it's oriented towards local businesses that are in specific verticals, specific industries. So first of all, what types of industries? So local services, think like plumbers, HVAC companies, carpet cleaning, locksmiths. Think about local law firms, local dentist practices, etc. It's called local service ads. It's oriented towards local businesses. And to find out if you're eligible, just Google local service ads, get to their page about it, and you'll be able to put in the type of business that you have and the zip code in which you operate, and Google will let you know whether or not you're eligible to run local service ads where you're located. And this program is constantly changing over time, so even if they don't support your industry right now or your zip code right now, that may change. So keep checking back on a regular basis. So if you can run local service ads in your area, essentially what you're going to do is you're going to go through a process with Google of proving your business legitimacy to Google in a number of different ways. And the eligibility requirements differ based upon the industry you're in, but often it's things like providing proof of insurance, providing business licenses if those are required, having background checks done of the owner and the reps who go out in the field or who communicate with clients. And then also you have to have an active Google Business Profile page, which used to be called Google My Business. Now it's called Google Business Profile because Google changes names all the time. But you have to have an active one with a certain number of positive reviews. So basically, you have to submit all that information to Google, go through that process, and then if everything checks out, then you're allowed to run these local service ads. And the place you'll see these local service ads is when you search for something on your phone or your computer, you'll sometimes see at the very top of the page, before any other ads and before any other organic results, you'll see something come up with the name of a business. Let's say you're looking for plumber near me. You might see 3 listings for plumbers near you. And it might say something like Google Guaranteed, which we'll talk about more later. It might say something else, but it'll have the option to call right away or to fill out a form or schedule an appointment right away through that interface without even getting to the business's website. And that's what local service ads are. And the way that Google charges you, again, is per lead. So for each lead you get, whether that be a phone call, a form submission, etc., you're paying Google for that lead. And if it's an invalid lead, you can dispute that with Google and try to get a refund if it wasn't actually someone looking for what you do. So that's what local service ads are. And then everything else in kind of the Google Ads ecosystem is managed generally through a different Google Ads account. So you'll have one account for local service ads, and then you'll have a separate account, a separate login for running regular search ads or YouTube ads or Performance Max, Google Display, fill in the blank. And just to make things more confusing, Google might have the same account ID for each account, but it's technically 2 different accounts. You access them from 2 different logins, and if you're adding users to them, you have to add it to 2 different places to have people access the account. So it's confusing, but hopefully that helps kind of clarify a little bit what the difference is between local service ads and everything else in the Google Ads ecosystem.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. And I think the other thing that a lot of people that have been only doing local service ads get confused about is the fact that you can't request a refund on regular Google ads. Local service ads does have that option if you get those invalid leads, but when you're running Google ads, you might get an invalid lead, but you're still going to pay for it. So that's something that's also a little confusing once in a while. All of those things that you just talked about are a lot, so it makes it really easy to make mistakes. Will, I know you've worked with some clients that have made mistakes prior to coming to us and are still dealing with those things. So can you give me a little bit of a rundown on some of the more common mistakes that you see users make when it comes to local service ads in particular?
Like John said, there are a few different hoops that you jump through when creating a local service ad account. But where things get even more interesting is recognizing how your local service ad account interacts with your Google business profile, like John mentioned, and your Google Ads account. So for instance, if you've set up a Google business profile, you put in your business name, your address, your service area, your phone number, the dates you're available, just basic information about your business. You're going to do a similar thing on your local service ad account. And some of that you may do at the beginning when you're setting it up. You may decide that you need to adjust those later. One of the things that you may have to adjust later is your business address. Maybe you've outgrown your current place and you need to move to a new one, so you need to update your address. Well, unfortunately, both of those pieces of information have to match between your local service ad account and your business profile account. So if you update it in one area versus another, you may inadvertently get your local service ads, they won't be eligible to run because the information doesn't match. Not only does the address need to match, but also the address on all of the forms that you submitted to become eligible for local service ads need to match. So when you update your Google My Business profile or your Google Business profile to show that you've moved to this address or this service area, if the address on your licensing or different documentation that you submitted for eligibility with local service ads doesn't match that, you have to resubmit all of it. So it's just something, it's not necessarily a big deal, but if you overlook it, it can be quite the headache to come back from that and kind of backtrack all of those different things. One of the reasons it is such a headache is you would think it'd be very simple to, just log into your account, you log into your local service ads account, change the address, Google My Business, change the address. But once you've kind of found yourself in a gridlock or, a monkey wrench has gotten thrown in there because something's changed, you're going to have to work with a representative. So you reach out to the local service ads representative. And then what you find out is, even though all of your accounts are connected, local service ads, Google Business Profile, Google Ads, there's a separate team, a separate rep for each of those Google products. And they don't have permission to change anything on your Google Business Profile that's going to impact your local service ads account. In the same vein, they can't change something on your local service ads account that's going to change something on your Google Ads account. And then there's a whole nother process you have to go through in order to give the right people permission to change different elements that you no longer have access to, because the options and the settings they can change on the back end are different from what you have access to, the visibility there. So it quickly gets confusing if something like that changes. So we're happy to help with that, but just keep in mind when you're changing something across those that you keep those practices in mind, that you're keeping everything consistent across those platforms, so that you don't run into those issues, which can be quite annoying to work through in the future.
Yeah, it can be so daunting for businesses that are losing leads because of having those Google issues that are keeping them from running their ads, whether they're local service or regular ads. So yeah, definitely something that people want to be careful with before launching, and then keeping an eye on after, which is why a lot of times an agency is the best choice, because you've always got an extra set of eyes working on that with you. John, earlier you talked about how local service ads have 3 different types of badges that people can earn, and those are basically obtained via a variety of different methods. They're Google guaranteed, Google screened, and license verified. So could you give us a little breakdown of what the difference between those 3 are?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Google guaranteed is the most common that you see. And so, like you mentioned earlier, a lot of businesses will actually call local service ads Google guaranteed. They'll think that's the name of the program just because it gets really confusing. So the best way to think about it is Google has different badges for different types of businesses. So they give the Google guaranteed badge to a number of local like home service businesses. Think plumbers, HVAC, places where people are going to be coming out and performing work at your home, generally speaking. Those are usually where you'll see that Google Guaranteed badge. And you'll see that little badge directly within the local ad listing. When you Google it, you see, oh, Google Guaranteed. And if you click on Google Guaranteed, you'll see that Google is basically guaranteeing that they've verified information about that business and that they are safe to work with, essentially. So that's Google Guaranteed. Then you have Google Screened. That one is more for professional businesses. So think lawyers, accountants, those types of businesses, and businesses in those categories, they get that local screened, Google Screened badge. So different from Google Guaranteed. Again, similar idea. It's Google saying, hey, we've put this business through the paces, and they've confirmed a number of things that make them seem legitimate. Then lastly, you've got License Verified by Google, and that's oriented more towards businesses in the health space. Think dentists, for example. Again, same idea. It means they've gone through things, and Google's saying that their license was verified. So at the end of the day, which badge you get really just depends upon what type of business you are. And those are all just badges that can apply in and of themselves to local service ads.
It's all about having to prove above and beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are able to do the things that you're saying that you can do. So getting unsuspended from a local service ads account is almost exactly the same as working through a suspension on a Google Ads account or a Google Merchant Center account. It's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of making sure things are compliant with Google and proving it to them, and a lot of waiting to get your ads back online. But once they are online, local service ads really prove to be incredibly profitable for many of the businesses that we're working on. I think one misconception is that you can just set it and forget it, but local service ads do need to be optimized. So John, can you give us a little bit of some more information on exactly how we might optimize local service ads?
Yeah, there's some various different levers that Google provides, and it's definitely different than any other type of Google ad campaign. It's very different from Google search campaigns, where you're used to having keywords and negative keywords and lots of control over ad copy and things like that. There's definitely less control that's available with local service ads, but still, like I said, a number of levers to pull. So some of those levers include what you're telling Google you're willing to pay per lead. The higher you tell Google you're willing to pay, the more aggressive Google is going to be at getting leads for you as opposed to competitors. Again, Google wants to make the most money possible. So if a competitor is willing to spend twice as much as you for a lead, they're probably going to get more traffic and more opportunities to get those leads. So at the same time, you don't want to overpay for leads. So, you should only pay what you can afford. And so you've got to try and figure out that water level between volume and profitability. So that's one area. You have control over what geographic locations you're targeting. So you might, explore over time and say, you know what, let's stop targeting this zip code because we're not seeing good results or not closing deals in this zip code, for example. You can also optimize things like what hours of the day the ads are running. You can optimize what categories you are telling Google you service, and therefore what traffic you get. So for example, you might be a storage facility, but there's a number of different types of storage. You've got cold storage, you've got self-storage, you've got kind of full service storage, etc. And so you can play around with which different subcategories you select as the types of leads you want to receive, and see the quality of those leads coming through, the volume, and play around with that again to find that water level. And there's other things as well. You can also do things like making sure there's as many ways for people to contact you as possible. So you could have phone calls. You could also integrate your scheduling software directly with your local service ads account, so that people could see when your sales reps are available and actually proactively schedule an appointment with them directly through the local service ad, so that you're cutting down on friction and getting people right away. So those are the types of things that you'll want to look at. And like you said, Becky, not set it and forget it, but tweak, play around with, check on over time as you run local service ads.
That's awesome. I think that covers pretty much everything that we could come up with in our short video about local service ads. John, do you have anything else that you want to add?
I will just add that they can be really effective, like you mentioned, Becky. We've seen them work really well for some clients. They can also be really frustrating in that we've seen big swings in performance we've often heard feedback from clients where, hey, the quality is great for a while, and then it just dies, and we don't know why. And part of that's related to competition, so you got to be watching how competition is coming into the marketplace. Part of that's because Google is often changing the program, and I think the most recent change they've released is related to like brand bidding, and a lot of people were seeing competitor ads start showing up when people search for them by name, things like that. So there's always weird new things that Google's testing or changing with the program. So keep an eye on things, don't set and forget, but definitely if you're in a business that is eligible for local service ads, it's worth checking out, worth exploring, and seeing if you can get some good quality leads at a reasonable cost per lead.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. As always, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and join us next week for another interesting conversation about everything when it comes to digital advertising. Have a great day.